Manchester United 2024. What has fundamentally gone wrong? If you look back, 2023 was a successful season where leading to Manchester United finished third and winning a first trophy in 6 years. We're talking about the Carabao Cup. However, this season alone, what is going on with Manchester United and Eric Ten Hag? Some fans call there's no style of play, some others call it player power, some others say there's no system. Last but not least, there's also the incapability of Eric Ten Hag's in-game management. So what is it? Well, stick around in this video. This is a clip from yesterday's mega podcast with Jarvis and the brilliant panel. A tactical analysis, what is fundamentally wrong with Eric Ten Hag's system this year with Manchester United. Stick around, buckle up, because we're gonna have a conversation. And at the end of the show, we want to hear from you. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Here we go. It's showtime.
Welcome back to Mufc Realist TV and Beat the Press. Please stay tuned to find out these top stories with your host Mick Ruby. Welcome to Beat the Press. Here we go.
Okay, let's go.
Where we are with Eric Ten Hag, I think it's different for me. I think he's got to stay as well. And I only think he's got to stay is because somebody's got to be held accountable for where we are. And that's either the players or the manager. And the manager always gets held accountable. Ivo Bosic was saying that everything starts and stops with the manager. It doesn't. Ultimately, the manager can't shove a broom up your arse and make you play. You're the only one that can make you do that. You're the only one that when you cross that pitch, that's really up to you to play to your very, very best. The manager is there to guide you, and his coaches are there to guide you, and they're there to talk about the opposition, there to tell you where you should and shouldn't be, etc. But I say this a lot: if you're a grown man at an elite level and you're still having to be told where to stand on a corner, just go away. Seriously, just disappear, because you shouldn't be anywhere near a football pitch. You should know instinctively what you need to do, where you need to be. And the thing is, and the other thing, Jarvis, I've been talking about, and Tom's made a great point, by the way, about Martial and Shaw. You've heard me now ramble on about football for 4 years, Jarvis, at least. How many times have I said the player has to take responsibility for his own injury?
Self-accountability, yeah.
And now finally, Ten Hag says, it's up to him as well. And it's up to his players. Tom's right about Eriksen. That is a mental problem for him. 100% it's a mental issue. He'll never be the player, unfortunately. I still think he's a wonderfully gifted footballer. He'll never be that player. And also, you've got to look at Luke Shaw. He'll have a similar issue mentality with his leg. He's still having problems with it to this day. It's still, and these are players that maybe we should say to Luke Shaw, thank you, mate. You've been a wonderful servant, but we can't go forward with you. We can't do it. I've listened to other clubs and I've listened to other players, and players like Conor Gallagher at the minute, which is doing okay for Chelsea. Look, if we can get money for you, mate, you're going. Cole Palmer, I'm not going to guarantee any football. You're going. We can't seem to do that, or we don't have the balls to do that. Martial, we're not doing your contract. You're gone. You're out on loan. Go. Piss off. Find a club. McTominay do the same. We don't seem to do this. And this is where we've got to get back to basics. Okay, this is where we've got to go back to basics. And if you listen to all ex-Man United players, they'll all tell you one thing, and there's one thing that was in common. They never got that fucking choice. Okay? You are gone. It doesn't matter whether you're Paul Ince, Roy Keane. They'll all tell you the same story. Yapstam's story. They'll all tell you the same story. I went in, I met Fergie, we've accepted a bid, you sold. The end. And they all had agents back then. The end. And we don't do that today. And we should have done this. We should have been way, way, way more ruthless and done everything we can to get these players off. Now, you can't tell me, and Tom's right, and Jarvis, I've heard you speak about this as well. You cannot tell me that managers of the quality of Louis van Gaal, the quality of Jose Mourinho, and Eric Ten Hag has got some quality, albeit at Ajax. He's still got that quality. He's still got that thing. Cannot affect these players because it's not all about just the manager. It's about the players. And you guys are right there. Selfish, They're self-centered. They don't care about anything apart from themselves. And until somebody, an owner of Real Madrid, Barcelona, sorry, not owners, but the custodians of Real Madrid, Barcelona, the owner of Manchester United, Liverpool, City, Chelsea, PSG, etc., turn around and say, enough is enough with these players. That is it. We've got to draw a fucking line somewhere. And in one club, it doesn't matter who it is, turns around and says, when you sign for us, you sign on $100,000 a week with bonuses, and that is it. That is all you're getting. So that everyone in that dressing room is on the same money. It doesn't matter. And then you're there for a reason. You're there for a reason, and you're performing to a reason. I think Tom made a brilliant point, and it's a point I was going to make, Tom, actually. You're absolutely right about Hans Postecoglou. He's come in and he's affected something. But he's working with players that actually buy into him and want to play football. That's the beauty of it. You're talking about Kulusevski not being in there. I speak about Højbjerg a lot. I think he's a great player. A lot of people don't like him, but he was terrific yesterday. Don't care what anyone says. You can argue with me all until you're blue in the face. He played a very, very sensible, solid game. You were spot on about Oliver Skip. You were spot on about Bentancur. When Oliver Skip walks out on that pitch and he looks at Bentancur, he looks at Højbjerg, he knows he's okay. He knows he's on ground. You look at Pedro Porro, you know you're on safe ground. We can't do that. Kobe Mino can't do that. He can't look around at Scott McTominay. Fucking hell. I'm sorry to be hard.
100%.
Guys, he can't. And we've never had that. We've never experienced this at this club, and how weak our mentality of the players are. I admit Eric Ten Hag has not covered himself in glory. I admit it. I think I agree. I'm 100% with it. But you've got to look at the way that the club is at the moment, and how we can't seem to cut this cancerous cell out and move it on. And until we can do something like that, we're in a world of trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you make a lot of good points there. It's for me, sometimes it's about the discussion is when it comes to Ten Hag or the players, it's like the chicken or the egg discussion, because are the players listening to Ten Hag, or is Ten Hag's game plan deluded or wrong in a way? So where is the who's wrong in a way? But I just want to go back to the second goal, because it goes over and over on repeat in my head, because I can't finally understand Ten Hag if he's in the locker room in this waiting for the second half. We were up 2-1. Spurs has been bobbing us for the first half. We had a couple of chances and we scored 2 goals, luckily. Do you really think Ten Hag said to the players, okay, let's go out full press, gung-ho in the second half? And the players did it? Or do you think the players are just acting on their own?
He would have said to the guys, because this is what every manager does, you keep it tight for 10 minutes. You don't go, you don't exert pressure, you don't do this, you don't do that. You keep hold of that football, you play hide and seek with the ball, you move it 3, 4, 5 yards, but you keep possession, you control the game, and then play yourself back into it. Any team that goes straight, unless you're losing, and Postecoglou is, keep going to what you're doing, keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. Earn that mistake, force that mistake, make sure that whatever happens. I mean,
this is the 46 minutes. If I zoom in here, you see 1, 2, 3, 4 guys pressing.
4 of them.
4 of them in the 46 minutes. You see here in the middle, here is Manu alone with 2 players around. He's the only one holding the midfield. And we have 4, because Spurs have 1 player on one side and 1 player on the other side here, and 1 in the middle. So, and we can't press further up because of the offside rule. So basically, we're hanging Manu out to dry as we are playing this way. And we are 2-1 up at this moment. It's in the 46th minute. And what happened next is this. I will just run you through it, because they played through our first press. So here you see Manu. He's the first only midfielder tracking back. This is our back 4, and Spurs have the ball on their left side. I'm not sure if it's Timo Werner who has the ball at the moment. So you see here, Manu, he has to make a choice. Which players should he go for and mark? Is it the one on the left or the one on the right? Because you see here, Bruno and Garnacho, they are too far back. You have Bruno have some contact. So the next picture you see, Manu chooses the right direction. He takes the little square here. That's the most dangerous area. But still, there's two players here. And you see Bruno. And this is Bentancur. Bentancur makes a really smart run now. He cuts into the left. You will see in the next picture. He cuts into the left because he knows that Timo Werner will play the cutback pass. And Manu, he's dropping too deep at the moment, but that's his direction of running. So it's natural.
Jarvis.
And you see Bruno here, he doesn't track Bentancur. Bruno just drops down to the 18-yard line. So basically, we are not doing the job defensively. So this is the next picture. You see here, Bentancur. Here is Ericsson, but Ericsson wasn't even in the picture. Ericsson was too high in the beginning, but so it was actually Bruno's man. And here you see Timo Werner plays the ball to Bentancur. Bentancur takes the ball into the 18-yard box and shoots and scores. This is basically the goal.
Go back one. Go back one. Okay. So Bentancur's here, and you've got Kaibi Mano. Mino is woefully out of position there, and Johnny Evans should have been screaming at Mino. Mino shouldn't have been there. He should have been in here because he chose the wrong man. And the reason he chose the wrong man was because Garnacho was being lazy. If you go back to the very beginning, and I'm presuming this is what you're going to come in at, Tom, at the very beginning. Keep going.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Garnacho's here. You're right there. Okay. Go back to that graphic. If you can, sorry.
Yeah, here, there's Garnacho.
Yeah, so Garnacho's here, and you're right here about Kobe Mano. First and foremost, you're absolutely right. He's got a decision to make.
Yeah.
This is about knowing players and knowing footballers. Mino should have been screaming at Garnacho to chase whoever this particular player is. I can't remember who it is. He knows Bruno's not going to track Bentancur. He should have arced his run, not gone straight across, arced his run to here. Mm-hmm. He should have been in that position there. So, Tom, I'm actually pointing at about a third of the way in the box itself, about a third of the way. When you push that forward.
Yeah,
next slide. Then Mino's going to be roughly where that Spurs attacker is, just roughly. Yeah. So we'll be able to see. So our two centre halves can cope with Richarlison. And Mino can then start to concentrate on Bentancur. With Garnacho, now wait till when you push it again, you'll see where Garnacho appears, and you'll see what I'm getting at now. Garnacho is lazy. Garnacho should have been on the edge of the box. Push it again, and you'll see why. Here, because Mino doesn't need to be there. Mino can be in at the tip of the arrow. And Garnacho, who's at the edge of the box, would have been able to back up Dallo. And there's your problem. And there's your goal. Unfortunately, that's where it's come from. Is that what you were going to say, Tom? Sorry.
Yeah. As much as you say that with Garnacho, I think even if you go back, Jarvis, you go back to it'd have been about if you go on from here. Yeah. In this sort of area, the way I look at it anyway, Fernandes should trap Bentancur. Last season, we had a player in this exact same fixture against Spurs when we dominated them 2-0. His name was Fred. He stuck to Bentancur. I can't remember if it was Bentancur or it was one of their other midfield, one of their other creative players. Anyway, he stuck to him like a rash for the whole 90 minutes, and he played a phenomenal game. In this case, Fernandes doesn't look like he's going to catch up on the ground to catch Bentancur. That's fine. At this moment in time, you have Richarlison, you have Werner, and on the bottom angle here, you can see his left foot dangling. You have Brennan Johnson. So you've got a 3 against 4. So we've got the better numbers in this case, and players are tracking back. Mino in that case, Jarvis, if you go on again, like you guys said, if you move on a slide, he's got a decision to make out of the two players. For me, I think he chooses the right decision. He goes where the ball's going to be played in the direction. And he tracks the most targeted player, which will be Timo Werner is not going to run at Diogo Dalot. He's going to come back inside and he's going to look for an option and a pass inside. So Mino makes the right decision. Fernandez, in this case, fails him if you carry on going. There's two players that fail Kobe Mino in this case. Fernandez should already be in the back of where Bentancur is, tracking him. And when you look at Kobe Mino, he goes into the right area. If you go on to the next one, Jarvis.
Yeah.
He goes into the right area where we've all pointed out in that little diagonal box there. But what Stu said about Garnacho is correct. He didn't even follow the winger that was going forward. I think it was Oliver Skip at the time, who was backing up where Timo Werner's positioning. He didn't play the ball to Skip, and he's come back inside to look for the pass, like we've all just said. So Garnacho has failed him. If you look at Mino's positioning here, he's out of position.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like he's in. You can tell there from that image straight away. You already know what's going to happen when you freeze frame it. But you look at Ericsson and you look at Fernandez, they are dead weights. They are dead weights. They have not tracked an opposition midfielder. Now, if this was up at the other end, guys, Oliver Skip, Højbjerg, or Bentancur would have been on Bentancur's player. Let's say that's Fernandez in our case. He's a similar sort of player who would be in that area on the edge of the box. They would have been on him like a rash, and you wouldn't have had that passing angle there. And our wide player would have probably played the ball in the box. Timo Werner doesn't do that because he knows Richarlison's isolated. So then if you play it on again, Jarvis, in this position here, by this point, it's too late. Fernandez, what is he doing? He's got no players. He's not even. I don't even think he's 5 yards if you measured it near a player. He's not 5 yards near Richarlison. Brian Johnson's not exactly causing a threat. The only threat is Bentancur, and you have two players in this exact moment here that can do something about it. That's Ericsson or Fernandez. It's too late by this point. An 18-year-old kid has been hung out to dry in that first ever image that you put up, Jarvis, when we was at the other end of the field. He was hung out to dry. And in this situation, his midfield compatriots, he's been hung out to dry there by the pair of them. And he's been hung out to dry in the other clip that we've just had up by his two partners again. And this is where we've said all season we have been wide open because our midfield isn't robust enough to track runners defensively. And how many times, guys, the most common goal that we have conceded all season? The cutback. The cutback. I've seen it against Bayern. I've seen it against City. I've seen it against so many teams. Brighton, so many teams this season. The cutback has susceptibly killed us. And in this point, again, it proves the point. Our midfielders do not track them. The only good thing that we ever said about Fred was I liked him in certain aspects of games because he isolates players. He's a nuisance. You stick him on somebody and you tell him, Fred, man mark him. You follow him everywhere. You follow him to the toilet. You follow him to his car, back home to his missus in bed. You follow him wherever he goes. That was Fred's brilliantest skill that he ever had. He wasn't technically gifted. He wasn't a brilliant passer of the ball. He might have a goal every so often, but that's about it. But Kobe Mino, in this case, an 18-year-old kid who's very talented, has been failed by two far more senior and experienced players in Fernandez and Ericsson. And if I'm Eric Ten Hag and I look and I get these graphs up, you show this to your captain, you show this to Christian Eriksen, and you say, where were you guys? You can't leave an 18-year-old kid isolated. And as much as we said it, guys, earlier in the season when Kobe Mino was injured, who would be in Kobe Mino's position there? Casemiro. And everybody would put the blame on Casemiro, saying his legs have gone. He can't get around the field. But he doesn't have any support. There's no help. We're wide open. We are completely wide open. And as much as Spurs play, people said that Spurs would play to the way that we want because we can counter-attack on them. You can do nothing in this image to stop this. Nothing. Because you sat on the halfway line. And Spurs, at the other end of play, would do exactly the same thing. But the difference with Spurs is they drop back a bit. They don't sit bang on the halfway line. They sit further back just enough so that if they need to, they can push forward and play the offside trap. And they don't get caught out with it. The amount of times that Garnacho, Rashford, Højlund was offside yesterday, it was ridiculous. I think it was 4 or 5 times that I counted it. Because they're masters of it. Villa tried it at Old Trafford and they failed. Fair enough. It's the way that Unai Emery tries to play. But for me, in this position, in this situation, they have failed him. And even when we talk about pressing, Jarvis, Ericsson is not 5 yards near Romero. Fernandes, not 5 yards near, I don't even know, Pedro Porro, I think it is. They're nowhere near. That is not pressing from the front. I'm sorry, it's not. If you want to talk about pressing from the front, you'd be on them like a rash. On them all time intensity. That's not pressing. But for me, in this situation, Kobe Manu, he did the right thing. He followed the right place in the right area for the danger. But you can't do anything about it if you're not going to be backed up by your teammates. Put it this way. We know who used to play in that position for Manchester United. It was a one Roy Keane. And if that was Roy Keane in that situation, he'd be saying, effing hell, lads, where were you? And he would hold people accountable. An 18-year-old kid isn't going to do that. I'm sorry, he's not. But he should do. And he shouldn't be ashamed of himself because I don't think he was a major culpable to that goal. He wasn't.
Mine wasn't. In actual honesty, Tom, Bruno should have been guiding Mino. Yeah, you're right. The way he was facing, he was always going to go towards Skip or whoever it was on the right.
You go towards the ball. He was player. That's how you're bred.
Yeah. But this is where Bruno or Evans or Varane should have been saying, wrong player, shift, go right, curve your run right. We can cover that then. And that's the problem. It's communication. So I felt a bit for him yesterday. I thought Elliot made a great point, and he just pointed out to me, he said, well, would you expect an 18-year-old to question the likes of Bruno? You wouldn't. You wouldn't. You would hope he would, but you wouldn't expect him to do that. But then I'd have expected Bruno to maybe have suggested, look, Kobe, I need you over here, mate. I'm not going to get back, or this, or Varane, or Evans, all experienced players guiding a young player. So Tom's right. It was called out to dry. It was a mixture of everything. And when the lads look at this, and when Kobe Mino himself look at it, he'll be looking at it and saying, Alex, what was I doing there? I should have been, if I'd come over. But look, at the top of that arrow, by the way, where Bentancur went into, Johnny Evans was asleep anyway.
Yeah, he was. But I just want to point out, because for me, we are. I think there's something wrong. Either it's Ten Hag's way of play, or Ten Hag's tactics, or the players who are over committing. Do you think something is lost in translation when Ten Hag talks to them about high press? He wants to press really high, win back the ball in dangerous areas to get transitions, because this must be Ten Hag's game plan in a way. But why can't we make it happen?
I don't know about if it's Eric Ten Hag, to be honest with you, because I don't necessarily think Eric Ten Hag's the main orchestrator for the way that we play. I don't. I think his assistants do have influence on it. Now, look, Steve McLaren, from what I know as a coach, when he was at Newcastle and some of the other jobs that he's done as assistants wise, it's not the way that Steve McLaren would breed a team. Even if he's an assistant and he has to work for somebody as part of its staff, I don't necessarily think he's that guy. I think McLaren is more of the guy who he keeps the morale. He keeps the players. He's experienced. He knows how to educate young players. He's been there, seen it, got the T-shirt. He knows how to embed them into the squad. Eric Ramsey, for me, and I said it before, set-piece coach, sack him. P45, you're done out here, mate. We don't score set pieces, and defensively, we are shocking. Porro stuck the ball from corners, bang on the penalty spot. Fernandes, Ericsson, who took our corners, couldn't even get it past the first man. It's disgraceful. Defensively, we're a shambles from set pieces, and we're susceptible to them, as much as we are the cutback. Like, in terms of it all, guys, even Michel van der Gaag will look at this from the way that we play. If you're talking about pressing from the front, Jarvis, Ajax did it with 30-year-olds. 30-year-old Tadic runs full pelt, 50, 60 yards, close people down. A young, quick kid on the wing, that might be a Noah Lang, that might be a David Neres in Eric Ten Hag's era at Ajax. 30, 40 yards, bang. Anthony on the other side, 21, 20 years old, bang. 30. Then you have Frankie de Jong backs them up from midfield. Then you have Haller. Van der Beek, whoever plays in those roles, bang. But the thing is, if one person does it, the way you press guys as a team, you need 4 or 5 players who do it. But you need to have rhythm, you need to have system, and you need to know how to do it. When one goes, you need to get the timing right for the second one, for the third one, for the fourth player. And if you don't do it consistently, for all of those players, 3, 4 players, consistently on the same hymn sheet, you're going to get played through. And that's why, as a team, we don't press consistently well. And that's why, for me, when Ralph Rangnick came to Manchester United and he tried to play the Gegenpress football, these players didn't understand how to play it because they don't know the timings. They don't know the system. You can't time how to press consistently in weeks. It takes months. Some cases, it takes years. Liverpool they tried it with Klopp, but when he realised a lot of those players couldn't do it to a high intensity, he got rid of them and he replaced them with players that could. And after 2 years, that Liverpool team went places under Jurgen Klopp, and they went and won the Premier League and the Champions League playing that way, high intensity, high press. So I think that's what Eric Ten Hag wants. He wants a similar style to what Jurgen Klopp has, high intensity, transitional, fast-flowing football. But he's not necessarily got the players who together do that. He's got uneducated players in midfield. He's got smart youngsters like Kobe Mainoo who have to play next to McTominay. You're not going to get chemistry there, guys. I'm sorry, you're not. In the same way, in the attacking output, Højlund's young and mature. He needs experience. He needs people to learn from, and he's not going to get experience from it. And the way that Eric Ten Hag, I knew it anyway from Ajax. The way that Eric Ten Hag's Ajax team played was they played with the ball to feet. Fernandes does not play with the ball to feet. He looks for a 50, 60-yard passing behind and try and kick somebody away, with the spacing behind. That's just from what I see anyway. Eriksen, if you put him in the 10, I think you might see something a little bit different. But as much as people want to say it, Fernandes, when we bought him, he was a number 8 at Sporting Lisbon. A number 8. He wasn't a 10. He scored goals from midfield from 50, 60 yards out, and he scored some decent free kicks, and people were getting giddy because they thought, he can create chances. He's very smart. He's very snazzy with the ball. But you can put him in the number 8. He'll score goals still from deep. You'll put him in the number 10. He might create a few chances. Yeah, that's fine. But the problem with us is Fernandes will give you more than what Eriksen will give you if you give him the discipline of closing down. Like I said before when we had that graph up, guys, for the Kobe Mainoo goal, Eriksen should be in Fernandes' situation running after Bentancur if he's the number 8. But he's not. That's Fernandes. So theoretically, Fernandes is playing the number 8 role from a defensive aspect anyway, because Eriksen doesn't have the legs to track back. So when you look at it from that way, guys, he either wants Mason Mount to come back, and then Mason Mount's suddenly going to be able to do that because he's an energy player. He's full of energy, can get up and down the pitch 90 minutes when he's fit, and if we can get him fit, first and foremost. But the problem that I fail to see with Eric Ten Hag is I don't think he individually has coached these players well, consistently. No. A lot of the respect that we gave for Marcus Rashford's increase in form last season came down to Benny McCarthy. A lot of people gave Benny McCarthy the praise for that. Even with Michel van der Gaag, a lot of people gave the praise that we gave him for development of such as Garnacho. But even from when Martial hit a little bit of form, he obviously didn't play a consistent amount of games to do it. You gave a lot of the praise to Michel van der Gaag. Even when we looked at it from a defensive output, Eric Ramsey, fair enough to him, he got a little bit of praise because defensively we was a lot solidified at the back, especially from set pieces. We didn't leak as many as we did. But it almost as if seems like the coaching culture right now, you fail to see what it is defined. And I think for me, as a style of play, and I've said it before, you have football clubs that have a defined way of playing. If you ask anybody how Barcelona play, they'll mention one word, tiki-taka. Forget the managers, tiki-taka style. Real Madrid, it will be man manager. You need to be a leader. You need to be an authoritarian. You need to have won things. You need to be successful. Manchester United, we don't have that identity. We don't have that style to follow. We've gone from Moyes to Van Gaal to Mourinho to wherever. And I just look at that patterning and I think, now you're with Eric Ten Hag, who is completely different to any of those other managers before, but people can say that he's not had the time to work with these players, and if a year and a half is enough time. And I see mediocre players at Spurs play rings around us. Oliver Skip, mate, would anybody take him at Man United? Højbjerg, some people might, Stu might. He's not my cup of tea for a player. But would I take him at Manchester United? Probably
Højbjerg
not.
is not a sexy signing in defense.
This is what I mean,
but actually,
Jarvis.
he's not too bad. I would say he's a decent player, and I think he would strengthen our squad.
They're not creative. This is what I'm saying though. But in terms of technical ability, there's not a technical aspect to Højbjerg that there is similarities to, say, a Bernardo Silva, or even if you want to say a Rodri. There's not those similarities between the two players. They're worlds apart. That's the difference between us. But this is what I'm saying. There's not a defined style of play. If we play the set way, guys, and we lose, I can accept that. But I want to lose playing the right way and playing some decent football. And right now, I'm not seeing it. And I don't think these players are necessarily playing for this manager. Well, if you get to that stage as a group of collective players, Bruno Fernandes should rally them up against the wall and say, look, if we're not going to play for the guy, let's play for the football club. Let's play for the badge. Fans travel home and away for us. If we don't believe in what this guy's trying to do, that's fine. Ineos have rolled in. They'll probably replace him in the summer with some other stooge that we can get on board with him. He might get us playing for a good couple of months and everything. We can throw him under the bus. But you're not going to change a whole group of players, unfortunately. And it will fall down onto the manager. And he did what he did last season, but
I just want to say before we move on, there's almost 80 people watching, and I think we have about 40 likes, 44 likes. So it really helps out the algorithms and the channel if people can just hit that like button. It's really important for us. So please hit the like. That will help out a lot. So big up, Uncle Jimmy. How are you doing? Did you see your cousin play yesterday? And are you happy with his performance?
You know what? Yeah, I am. I think there's a bigger picture here. I think that I keep looking at. I think I look at things a little bit different to everyone else. I saw good things. I know the performance wasn't great as a team, but I saw a lot of good things from especially the younger players. I'm seeing signs that actually these kids actually might be at the club long term. So overall, the youngsters, for me, I can't fault them. The effort was there. They were making some decent decisions. A lot of improvement in that department from the youngsters. But I think, again, I'll keep saying it. I think Kobbie Mainoo remains the best midfielder at the club. I think even when I look at because I expected everyone to start improving because we're not playing as many matches. I was expecting to start seeing slightly different performances from certain players, and I haven't really seen an improvement in that department. We still look like we're tired at times. Especially in the second half, quite early in the second half as well. I think that's a disappointing thing. I've just heard just now. Spurs, if you look at the Spurs players, like for like, they should not be playing us off the park the way they were playing us off the park. In that second half, very early on in the second half, the players looked like they'd given up on trying to control the game, and they were kind of just firefighting in every department on the pitch, and it just looks a mess. It looked all right in the first half, but then in the second half, it just looked like, oh, we've run out of ideas now. We don't really know what we're trying to do anymore. I think before, when people kept talking about style of play, I don't always subscribe to this style of play conversation. For me, every match is you're facing a different opponent. You should plan differently for different matches. I know there should be a very basic effort in terms of what you're trying to do, how quickly you press, and those little things. Yes, they should be there and they should be consistent. So I understand that, but I think to kind of just people insist on this style of play, that's not what I'm expecting. But I'm expecting these players to play like professional footballers when they come on, especially when you've got, they beat us with, who was their front three? Richarlison, who else?
Yeah,
Who?
they played with
Richarlison, Højbjerg.
No, Werner. Richarlison, Werner, and
Richarlison, Werner, and so
White.
look at that. I mean, come on. What are we talking about here? We should not be struggling the way that we struggled in that match. I didn't watch the whole match because I was just getting a bit frustrated. I stopped watching for a bit and I had other bits to do as well around the house. So it was sort of in the background. I'd come to it every now and again, but I've watched extended highlights, maybe focused on stuff that I was looking for. I didn't see a lot of the things I was hoping to see because I thought the players had rested. I'd see a lot more effort, but I just didn't see it. So overall, I think you could call it a poor performance just on the basis of who we're facing, and considering the amount of players that they had missing as well, some of their main players. So you expected us to be more forceful in trying to control the match, and we just weren't. And the frustrating thing with the manager as well, I'll just add on, sorry, before I stop. I get frustrated with Ten Hag because when things are going wrong, I don't see him trying to improve the thing that's going wrong on the touchline. It almost feels like he expects what he's coached on the training sessions to just translate onto the pitch without him really. I mean, you look at all the top managers; they really, they're trying to look at the little details in the match, and I just don't see Ten Hag doing that enough, especially when we're struggling. In that second half, he should have been screaming. I mean, some of the misplaced passes, some of the lack of just losing the ball and not even turning around to run after the ball. That should be sending him absolutely mental on that touchdown. I just don't see that enough. I see it at the wrong time sometimes, where I think the player's actually maybe done something decent, but he's trying to show, no, we want better standards than that. But actually, no, that's not the time you should scream and shout. It should be when we're absolutely getting annihilated by a team that really on paper should be less than average compared to what we've got on the pitch. So it was a disappointing performance overall. But like I said, I'm quite impressed with some of the young players and the things that I think that they're improving on a game by game basis. So look forward to watching them.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, this is the end of the road of this video, but I want to hear from you. Actually, we want to hear from you, global fan base. Do you agree what our panel is saying? Do you have a different opinion? Do you agree what the panel is saying, that there is no in-game management, no style of play, there's player power? And that is what this video is for, engagement. Please leave a comment below and don't forget to like and subscribe to this video, and we shall see you to the next time. Thank you for watching.